Hello, this is Kathy from the Daily Marker. How are you today? Real quick, the coloring challenge starts March 1st, and I'll have more details soon. I just wanted to mention that. But today, it's a blog hop for Hero Arts, and I have 3 of these cards in my blog. And I want to show you how I created this card right here. Right here, right now. Okay, let's get started. Now, a lot of times when I start, I don't have a plan, and then my card ends up being different from what I planned. So when I did this, I drew this gray line because I was not going to color the other parts and I was going to cut them out. I don't have the die cut. And then I ended up not doing that, so I just wanted to explain those lines. I just wanted to make it very clear what I would be coloring and cutting, but I ended up not doing that. Now you can see I've been coloring as I've been chatting, and I have my first base layer of a pink tone. I'll set that color down in a minute. And I just sped this up because it's just the first basic layer, and that's RV34. So I have that color on each petal, and now I'm scribbling some of the darker color, the RV19, and I'm going to be picking that up. This is just some packaging. I love to use it because it's handy. So I do this a lot. I put down the darkest color, let's call it a palette, or on the packaging, and then the lighter color, I'm picking the color up and I'm putting it on each petal. And right now I'm just getting the flow, seeing how I want to do this. Sometimes you find shortcuts along the way, but this is how I started my card, and now I'm just taking that marker rather than picking it up from the packaging or the palette, and I'm just putting that dark color down in all the crevices on each petal. So it's a little time consuming, but in the end it's what makes your coloring look rich. Now you can see that it should be blended out a little bit more. So I'm taking the first base color and loading up the tip of my marker and dipping it into that darker color to blend those two out. That way I'll have a stronger line in the little crevices, and then I'm bringing that color out. This is also, I always say, it's a great way to use colors that aren't in the full spectrum that you have. You know, they don't need to line up, be in numerical order. Now, I always like to mix in kind of an unusual color, like this is a yellow, and I want to mix that in with my pink. I just kind of feel like it makes the pink pop. Pink pop, how's that? And I'm a little tired of twirling my image around, so I went ahead and cut that out, and now I've got my yellow marker again, and it's easier to start at the line, the darkest line, and then push the color out. You can feather it, or you can just kind of push it out, and it just kind of melts the colors. Now, I always like to go back and add a little bit more of the darker color, but first I'm finishing this. I noticed that I missed some leaves. And I always like to double check the color on my scrap paper just to make sure I picked up the right marker. Now this was the base layer color, and I'm just adding more of that. Sometimes you wash it out, sometimes you realize you want more color. You're always kind of adding and taking away, and that's kind of how you build colors and get that rich look. So I'm just moseying around my flower here, just adding a little bit more. And I've picked up the darker color. So far I've only used 3 colors, and this is the darkest, and I'm just going back to add a little bit more in those little crevices, and that's what really make your images stand out. So just, take your time and just add a little bit in those crevices. So again, I've picked up that medium color, and I'm adding a little bit more and just walking around this image. I'm just kind of, I enjoy this process, so sometimes I could overcolor. Now, I've picked up my 0, and keep in mind 0 can be your best friend. Now I decided I don't want every petal to be like, I don't know. I felt like I wanted to remove some of the color. So if you see, there's kind of some guidelines on each petal, and I'm taking my marker and using those lines as a guide. And I'm basically making like two strips, like a runway down each petal, just to give it a little bit more of an accent. And then you can pick up a colored pencil and add more color. This is a navy. You'd be shocked what gorgeousness you can get from a navy marker. And this is not a Prisma. This is a hard pencil, so it doesn't really get as waxy on you. And I'm just going around and adding to those little crevices. I always talk about those little crevices. I think they're so important. I'm just twirling around here in my chair, and I'll link the supplies in the list, but these are Fantasia Artist Premium Colored Pencils. That says it easily dry blends without smudging. Now I've picked up one from the same colored pencil sets, and I picked up a red, and I'm just kind of drawing a line down the middle. Sometimes if you look at flowers, they actually have like lines on the petals. So a lot of times I'll go to Google and pull up an image and use that as a guideline. But this, I'm just going for it. Now you saw me cut off 2 leaves there, and I'm just throwing down some colors, so I sped this up. This isn't the perfect color here, the BG09. I like using a blue on top of the green. And then now I'm using an E color just to kind of push that color around. I need a sweet spot on the leaves. I'm taking a 0 on the other side of the leaf, and I'm just futzing around. A lot of times that's what color is, futzing around, experimenting, just seeing where it takes you. Now on the other side of the leaf, I'm adding more that it's kind of a beige. And I'm ready for the center, and I'm going to use just 2 browns. Now I think typically this flower might be yellow in the center, or I could do more pink, but I like the center being like a dark brown. Now there's another color card on my blog where I think I colored the center yellow. Well, you saw it in the beginning of the video. So I'm just doing another removal of color on the leaves here, kind of washing that out with the E again. And I'm going to, in the center, I'll be adding some white accents. Now I've picked up a colored pencil just to add a little bit more to the crevices. Sometimes it's just faster to pick up a pencil than it is to grab your marker. And just putting a little bit of shading down the center of those leaves and a little bit here and there. And again, just because I like the process. Now, one thing I've done for years and years and years and forever since I started card making is outlining the image. And I always use a Sharpie super fine tip marker. It's permanent. It works great with Copics. I could go over this and add more color. And I'm only outlining certain lines in the leaves. I don't want to spend all day doing this. And then I'm going to go around each petal. See how that just pops? Also, I have a big window, and the light is always changing, so it makes it a little difficult for my videos. Now, this is one of my essential tools. It's a Momento black marker. It's the same thing as I use for my Copic when I color with Copics. And I like to go around the image. I don't want any white showing on the edges of my cut images. And I've picked up a white gel pen, and I'm just adding a little accent line to each of those little doodads in the middle. And a line down the center, just a little accent line. Sometimes it's dots I like to add, sometimes it's lines. Sometimes I'll add a line on each petal in white. Just kind of depends on what I'm in the mood for. Now, I love this flower, but I thought it'd be fun to make a stem. So if you can't draw a straight line. This is for you. Draw a crooked line, one on each side, color it with some marker, smash some color on there, and then take that Momento marker on the edge so you don't have any white showing, and then you have a stem for your flower. Now watch, I'm going to cut the leaf off the top, but in the meantime, I'm just taping that stem down, just super easy. And I decided I want to cut that off and add it to the other side of the flower. Just kind of want to balance it out a little bit more. And then there's another leaf that I cut off that I'll add to the stem, like for a little bit of balance. So keep in mind you can do that. And I'm just figuring out where I want these leaves to go, and then I'll just glue them on with some glossy accents. And I'll be popping this on my card. And I've shown this many times in videos where I take the twine, color it with marker, and tie it around the stem. Before I popped my flower, I stamped the sentiment on the card and then the stem and put a layer of vellum on top and then some sequins. The background was some of the layering stamps, the koi fish. It's so fun to use those layering stamps. So that's it for today. There's more information on my blog. Thank you so much for watching. Thumbs up if you like this, and have a great week. See you next time.